Okay, welcome everyone. This is John Gabriel, author and creator of The Gabriel Method, a diet-free approach to sustained weight loss. And I'm very pleased today to be joined by Jessica Ortner. Jessica Ortner is a New York Times bestselling author of The Tapping Solution for Weight Loss and Body Confidence. She's also the producer of the Tapping Solution breakthrough documentary film on EFT tapping. She's led more than 5,000 women through her revolutionary weight loss and body confidence online programs. And she's also the host of the Tapping World Summit, which is an annual event that attracts more than 1 million attendees around the world each year. So I'm really happy to have Jessica here, and we're going to be talking about tapping for weight loss and also about her new book about body confidence and limiting beliefs that can get in the way of weight. So Jessica, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, John. I've been a fan of yours for so long, and so much of my work is inspired by you, so I'm thrilled to be here.
Awesome. Well, I think we're both kindred spirits because we both approach weight loss in a similar way, and that is that we look at the whole picture, not just about calories in and calories out or behavior modification, but what's going on the inside, what type of emotional issues or stress or limiting beliefs are affecting you. And then when you address those beliefs, you can lose weight easier, and that's really what we're about. Would you agree with that?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. So just for starters, for those people that are new to tapping, can you tell us a little bit about what tapping is?
Yes. So it's not a new tap dancing trend to lose weight. It is
Does
a
sound a little bit like that now that you mentioned it.
right.
Tapping for weight loss. That would work too, I guess. Why not?
Yeah, hey, it is. It's definitely great cardio, but
Yeah.
this works in a different way. It's called tapping because you're literally tapping on acupressure points on your face and your body. A lot of times when we're stressed, John, people tend to use these acupressure points without even noticing. They'll go like this at their desk,
That's true.
put their hands on their side,
Yeah.
or they'll grab their chest
Yeah.
when they're scared. So intuitively, we know that these points help us relax. With tapping, it's really a form of what I like to call ancient Chinese acupressure points because we're using these points, and modern psychology because we're using so much of what we're learning now about acknowledging how we're feeling, really getting clear on what's going on underneath the surface. And so what you do with tapping is you actually get very clear on what is bothering you, what's creating stress.
Yeah.
Because when we are feeling overwhelmed, it's not something that we just like have in our head. We don't think a stressful thought and just feel stress in our head. We feel it with our whole body
Right.
because
And it affects our biochemistry. It affects our hormones, which then affects our ability to lose weight and causes us to go into fat storage mode, causes junk food cravings. And it's all real biology. It's not
yes.
just psychology. It's very, very real biology. And that's what people, I think, don't realize.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And so when you're focusing on something that is causing stress in your life, as you tap on these acupressure points, what you're doing is you're sending this calming signal from your body to your brain, telling your brain that even though you have that thought, you can relax.
Yeah.
Because it's not thoughts that have power over us, it's the charge.
Yeah.
Like you can think something negative, and if it doesn't feel true, you just let it go. When something feels true, you feel it in your body with a tightness in your stomach or your chest.
Yeah.
So we're really bringing in the mind and the body here.
So basically, what you're doing is you're tapping on these different points, and by doing that, you're communicating to your body that whatever it is you're worried about is not a real issue. You're okay. You're safe. And then concurrently, the hormonal experience that you're having is a much better experience.
Right. And you have control. So tapping works when it comes to weight loss, it works in two ways. The first way you mentioned, hormonally. When we're stressed, as you talk about so much, it makes us gain weight.
Yeah.
There's the chemical, there's the hormone aspect of it. But the other side too is when we're stressed, we're not in control.
Yeah.
I remember so often when I was binge eating, it wasn't really when I was happy. It was usually when I was having a tough time or I had a moment of solitude and I just was seeking pleasure. So it impacts us in both ways. Emotions control our actions.
Yeah.
So if you know what to do, but you're not doing it, then it's time to start to try these different approaches like tapping and the visualization that you do.
Yeah, and that's a really important point too, because when you are stressed, you're in a reactive state. You're not in a conscious state. You're not going to make conscious decisions. You're kind of in your animal brain. You're in your survival mode brain, and you're going to make unconscious decisions. And those unconscious decisions are going to cause you to crave things and eat things that you otherwise wouldn't when you're in a conscious state. Would you agree with that?
Yes, 100%. And
Cool.
that's why, I mean, this is for people who know what to do and aren't
Yeah,
doing it. Because for
yeah.
so many years, I had all the information, but it just wasn't clicking because I wasn't looking at the beliefs, my relationship with myself, and the stress that was happening in my life.
So how did you begin to use tapping for weight loss then? How did that come about?
Well, before I will admit I was using tapping for everything else. With my brother, Nick Ortner, we decided to make a documentary film about tapping, and we followed 10 different people, and we saw the results when it came to insomnia and with pain relief and just with overall anxiety. And I saw that it was working, but I didn't want to use it for weight loss because I was so brainwashed to believe that if I just had enough willpower,
Yeah.
that eventually I would get there. So
You just gut
even
it
though
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
so even though I had this in front of me, it's like I didn't want to do the emotional stuff. I just wanted to get on a plan.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of plans, and I did every diet since I was 14 years old. And one day I was at it was like a health event, and I was registering. I was just a participant. And I went up to the woman and I gave her my name. And I said, "Hi, I'm Jessica Ortner. I'm registering." And she looks at me and she goes, "Oh, Jessica Ortner from the Tapping Solution." Now, John, this is the first time anyone had
Yeah.
ever recognized me. I'd been doing
You were
interviews
spotted.
in a
Yeah.
basement. I was like
Ha ha ha.
so happy. And I was like, "Yes, that's me." And she looks me up and down and she's like, "Oh, you're a lot bigger than I thought."
That's not too cool.
And no, it was not very nice. And I didn't know what to say. I just shut down emotionally.
I always wonder why people feel the need to say something like that.
I
It's
know.
like, if you have a weight problem, you know that. You
I
know
know.
it every day, every minute of every day, you know it. Like
I
why people
know.
feel they're going to add something to your experience by mentioning it to you.
I don't know. And I had a lot of those experiences.
Especially someone who's like an expert or authority, on personal improvement, which obviously is where you were, what you were registering for, some
Yeah.
sort of personal improvement
Well,
thing. Yeah.
in a little shorter but extreme story is I had someone who at the time was a mentor to me who knew how much I wanted to help other people. He knew how much I loved
Yeah.
tapping, and he had said to me, "You're fat and no one's going to listen to what you have to say until you lose
Yeah,
weight."
it's really sad. I had Dr. Atkins yell at me, for being so fat, and I'm thinking, look, I'm already spending thousands and thousands of dollars with you, Dr. Atkins, to get some answers. You're yelling at me is not going to do anything whatsoever. That's your
No.
frustration because of your inadequacy.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
and to me, weight loss, I realized I had this relationship with weight loss in this journey where, yes, part of me wanted to lose weight more than anything because to me it felt like losing weight would be the answer to all my problems.
yeah,
And on the other side, I felt angry and resentful. I felt resentful because I felt like everybody else was given a better body than me.
yeah,
I felt angry because it felt like it was easier for everyone else. And I was angry about the pressure I felt society was putting on me, especially as a woman, to put so much value on my appearance. So part of me wanted to reject that by eating
sure, be rebellious. Yeah,
and saying I don't really care. But the other side, I really wanted it, and so it was like this storm of so many emotions. And after that experience, I remember going up to my brother, and again, we were working, like tapping was all we were doing, and he's like, "Why don't you?" He was like being very gentle and very sweet, and he's
yeah,
like, "You've been suffering with this for a long time. What if you just tried to approach it with tapping? Why don't you try? You've done the diets. Why don't you try to approach the emotional aspect?" And sometimes we hear these things a lot, but sometimes we have to hit rock bottom. I had to hit rock bottom for me to have it sink in,
yeah,
for me to go to have that kind of wake up
sure,
call. And that was my wake up call. And I thought, Einstein said, famously, insanity is doing the same thing
yeah,
over and over again and expecting a different result. And I realized, wow, I have been insane since I hit puberty.
yeah.
And I wasn't a life that I wanted to live. And so I began to just explore the beliefs I had, the emotions I had, the experiences I had. Like you mentioned, we both had times when people have said to us, who've yelled at us
Yeah.
for not being able to lose weight. And that creates an emotional toll. And that creates a really harmful relationship with ourselves and with our body. So it's important to address those things.
Especially, I think, Jessica, when you're living in a culture that really believes that weight loss is nothing more than calories in, calories out, and overweight people are just weak and lazy, and they should just try harder. Then you end up thinking there's something wrong with you, you're weak, you're lazy, when in reality, there's some very, very real dynamics that are affecting you. The emotions are causing your body to hold on to weight. The stress hormones are causing your body to hold on to weight. It's very real. It's very documented at this point scientifically, but it's not out there in the mainstream. So we're still bombarded. You see Facebook posts where, what's the real reason you're overweight? And then they cross out these things, insulin,
like bananas or something.
But then they say because you're eating like an asshole is what they say. Like that's the reason, and it's still there. That stereotype is still there. So to be able to fight that and to look at these other issues is, in my opinion, very courageous.
Yeah. And John, we are bombarded with information. And one thing I began to realize as well is we all live in a different body. We all have different genetics. We all react differently to food. And finding a way that works for us takes exploring and curiosity and trying. And when you have such a painful relationship with weight, you just want someone else to tell you what to do. Yeah. You just want someone to say, do this, this, and that. And if it doesn't work, you blame yourself. Sure. And when you can deal with the emotional side of things, then it's like your approach to discovering what works for you becomes more exciting and pleasurable instead of painful, to be honest.
Yeah. So you're obviously very healthy and fit right now. Was tapping a big part of that? Do you feel like you're in control and you feel happy with where you are with your body?
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you made a great point with saying, do you feel happy with where you are? Because when I would diet, there were moments when I did lose weight. Sure. And then I would gain it. Sure. And in those moments that I lost weight, I wasn't happy. Yeah. I was almost just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Sure. Now I feel not just great in my body. I don't just look in the mirror and like how I look, but I feel good in my body. I have a different relationship with my body that if I'm not obsessing over every pound and I have freedom. And I always thought that losing weight meant restriction. And now I'm realizing I feel emotionally like I have more freedom than I've ever had before. And to talk a little bit about the journey, in the beginning, I had to be more committed to it. I had to be more committed to doing this emotional work. Yeah. And it wasn't always easy to look at these things. Yeah. But the more that I did, the more empowered I felt. And then it's like when you do this work enough, you hit a moment where then the ease comes. Did you experience that to be true?
100%. And with the people that I work with, I call it paying it forward. We're so conditioned with a diet that it's either going to work right away or it's not going to work, right? So as soon as you go on a diet, you're going to get immediate results. You're going to lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds, maybe 20, and then you're going to reach that plateau, and then you're going to fight cravings, and then it's just a question of how long can you hang on before you have a big binge and the whole thing unravels. This is the exact opposite. You may not lose weight right away. You might even gain a little bit in the beginning because you're bringing up all these emotions and they're circulating through your body. So you have to pay it forward. And I've worked with people sometimes 6-8 months before there was any weight loss, but then they went on to lose 50, 100, and sometimes 200 pounds and keep it off. They're on this journey where they know the weight's going to stay off because they've done the work. So sometimes, especially when it comes to emotional work, you have to pay it forward. You have to do the work first, and then you get the results. And there's a kind of a leap of faith in a sense when you're doing that, and because if you're not seeing the immediate results, it requires that faith.
Right. And well, the good thing and courage, absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things I love about tapping is you can feel better quickly, which is the nice thing. Yeah. You can find that relief, but it's true that sometimes what you have to become aware of your triggers. Yeah. And once we become aware of them, in the beginning, it's scary to look at things or we're scared, like, I don't want to open this can of worms. But when we actually face it and we have a gentle technique like tapping, it's not so scary. We create more ease. Yeah. But starting always takes courage.
Yeah. Yeah. So can you just give us an example of how you use tapping for weight loss?
Absolutely. Cool. So one of the ways that's like the easiest to at least give people an example of how tapping works is with cravings. Okay. Because a craving is a very physical sensation, as you know, like we feel it. And a lot of times we don't feel like we have control over it. And so when it comes to tapping over a craving, there's the emotional aspects of things. So what are you craving? Yeah. Sometimes the only time we give ourselves a break is when we, eat junk food. And advertisers know it. That's why they say, give me a break me off a piece of that kickabout cart. Like all those things are about what are you really craving, which is sometimes pleasure, a break. And so when you begin to tap, you can start tapping while focusing on what the craving sensations feel like in your body, and then begin to say out loud to yourself, the questions like, what am I really craving? So we can do some tapping together so everyone gets a clear idea of how this works and has an experience. I will mention before we start that in tapping, we like to use a setup statement, which sets you up for the process.
Right.
And the setup statement is, even though, and you state what's bothering you. So in this case, it's a craving. And we want to be specific. So even though I have this craving for chocolate, I accept myself and how I feel.
Okay.
Now, John, many people hate this phrase. I mean, what the first time I had to say out loud, I accept myself, I burst into tears. Because it's like, we want the opposite. I don't accept this craving. I want to push it away.
But you know, Jessica, though, it's so important. I've interviewed so many people that have had massive transformations, and this was true of my own transformation too. And self-acceptance for the situation that you're in right now is the catalyst for transformation.
It releases the pressure.
I was 400 pounds, and I said, you know, even if I have to spend the rest of my life at 400 pounds, I accept myself. I accept this. I don't want to go through the struggle anymore. I don't want to be on yo-yo diets. Just want to live a normal life. And that was a catalyst for me. That was really powerful. And I've talked to lots of other people that have had huge transformations that comes from that place of self-acceptance. So even though it's a really uncomfortable statement, it is so powerful when it comes to change.
It's so powerful. So let me and thank you for sharing that, because it is true. It's so powerful, and it's not easy. But it happens, and acceptance isn't a place that we arrive to either. I feel like it's a place that we build. You know, there's moments where in the beginning it's difficult, and you just keep kind of bringing those waves of acceptance until we feel more comfortable with it, and then it stays with us. So let me just talk through where the tapping points are to start with. So the very first point is the side of the hand, and it's the karate chop point, and it doesn't matter what side of the body you tap on. So right here. Then the next point is the eyebrow point. So I just use 2 fingers and I tap where the beginning of my eyebrow is. Then the next one is side of the eye. So you follow your eyebrow until you're right on the bone. Perfect. Then underneath the eye. Underneath the nose. Right underneath the mouth between the lip and chin. Exactly right. Then the collarbone point. So I like to use my whole hand and just tap on your chest, and you're going to hit it. Then underneath your arm, so it's about a hand width from your armpit. Like right where your bra strap, well, not your bra strap, but if you're wearing a bra, it's where your bra strap lies. And then right on top of the head. So those are the 9 points that we use. And what's nice about this is when you get comfortable with those 9 points, it's just easy to remember. And they're great acupressure points. So let's start off by, for those who are watching, I want you to think about a craving. In this case, I'm going to use chocolate. But if you crave chips or something salty or a pretzel, anything else, just bring that to mind and think about that craving. Think about that food and smell it. Just smell it in your mind's eye. Think about how it tastes in your mouth, the crunchiness or the smoothness, whatever it is. Notice the pleasure that you experience with it. We're actually wanted to bring the craving up so we can acknowledge it.
A lot of people are going to put the video on hold and come back. And
and you know, if you have something, when I'm working with people on stage, I tend to have a bag of chips and chocolate, and I have them smell it. I have them open the bag.
That covers a lot of bases right there, chips and chocolate.
Exactly. So just notice that craving. And now measure that craving. So 10 is like you are ready to eat it right now. 0 is no craving. It's indifferent. It's like the opposite of craving is indifference. You can have it or you can not have it. You're in control.
That makes sense.
So notice where you are on the scale from 0 to 10. And we're going to begin tapping. And in the beginning of tapping, we really focus on the craving, on how we're feeling, and then we can move to more positive sayings, kind of move away from that. But you always want to start when it comes to tapping with how you're really feeling, really acknowledging that, and acknowledging maybe the struggle you have. I remember when I would try to be on a diet, it was like this fight I would have in my head. I want it, I don't want it, I want it, but I shouldn't.
It's like every day was a war, you know?
Every day is a war, exactly. So tapping, once we have the number, tapping on the side of the hand. John, why don't you repeat after me? And everyone who's listening, tap along. This is how you're going to get the best experience. So from the side of the hand, just repeat. Even though I have this craving for chocolate.
Even though I have this craving for chocolate.
I accept myself and how I feel.
I accept myself and how I feel.
Even though I have this craving for chocolate in my body.
Even though I have this craving for chocolate in my body.
I accept myself and how I
I
feel.
accept myself and how I feel.
Even though part of me believes
Even though part of me believes
that I need this chocolate,
that I need this chocolate,
I accept myself and how I feel.
I accept myself and how I feel.
Now we're going to start tapping while we acknowledge the craving. So
Okay.
eyebrow point, this craving in my body.
This craving in my body.
Side of the eye. I notice where this craving shows up.
I notice where this craving shows up.
Under the eye, this craving in my body.
This craving in my body.
Under the nose, I need this chocolate.
I need this chocolate.
Chin, I know I shouldn't.
I know I shouldn't,
Collarbone, but I need it.
but I need it.
Under the arm, and I really want it.
And I really want it.
I feel this craving with my whole body.
I feel this craving with my whole body.
I feel like I'm at war with myself.
I feel like I'm at war with myself.
This craving in my body.
This craving in my body.
I acknowledge how much I want it.
I acknowledge how much I want it.
Under the nose, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
Even though I have this craving in my body,
Even though I have this craving in my body,
I give myself permission to relax.
I give myself permission to relax.
Under the arm, this craving in my body.
This craving in my body.
I acknowledge how I feel.
I acknowledge how I feel.
I acknowledge how much I want it.
I acknowledge how much I want it.
And instead of being critical,
And instead of being critical,
I become curious.
I become curious.
What am I really craving?
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 I'm craving a break.
I'm craving a break.
I'm craving pleasure.
I'm craving pleasure.
I'm craving a way to acknowledge myself.
I'm craving a way to acknowledge myself.
I'm craving a way to relax.
I'm craving a way to relax.
I honor these cravings,
I honor these cravings,
and I give myself permission
and I give myself permission
to feel good now.
to feel good now.
I give myself permission
I give myself permission
to feel relaxed and confident,
to feel relaxed and confident,
even with this craving.
even with this craving.
This craving for chocolate.
This craving for chocolate.
I can have it.
I can have it
Side of the eye, if it's what I really want.
if it's what I really want.
Under the eye, I acknowledge what I really want.
I acknowledge what I really want.
And I am now in control.
And I am now in control.
I give myself permission to relax.
I give myself permission to relax.
And whether I have this chocolate or not,
And whether I have this chocolate or not,
I feel good.
I feel good.
Under the arm, I am in control.
I am in control.
I recognize what I truly want.
I recognize what I truly want.
Okay, take a deep breath in. Okay, so I like to kind of shake my hands out. Keep taking a deep breath in. And now, for those who measured the craving, I want you to first notice how your body feels, because sometimes we notice that we go from this to this, just with some tapping, that we relax a bit. I want you to notice that craving. If you think about that chocolate, what's the craving like from 0 to 10? Is it still a 10? Has it gone down to a 7? Has it gone down to a 2? Notice how it's shifted. And what tends to happen is as we begin to tap, we gain clarity. When people say that it's important to get to the root of the problem, to see what's going on underneath the surface, a lot of times when we're stressed and overwhelmed, we can't reach that place because we're just overwhelmed by the craving. But when we begin to do some tapping, we can begin to realize, wow, you know what? My job is really stressful. And the only way I feel like I have a break is when I get home from work and I am able to escape into the kitchen. And now the focus isn't so much on the food craving, but on tapping on the stress around work. But the best thing about this tapping is we feel like we have more control just with a few rounds.
Well, I thought that was awesome. And I noticed a couple of things. You know, we typically have cravings. We often have cravings late afternoons or just when we get home from work or after dinner. And those are times when our blood sugar is low, we're stressed out,
Mhm.
and also we need something to make us feel good. And what I noticed is that my mind was much calmer and more relaxed. I was less stressed after that. I
Yeah.
felt really, really calm. And I think more, as much as anything, or one of the things that well, it helps in that regard is when you reduce the stress hormones, you're not having those hormones cause the junk food craving. So that's the first thing. The second thing is if I thought about chocolate, now I happen to love chocolate and
Yeah, me
I eat
too.
chocolate all the time, but it's really healthy chocolate. I wasn't craving it at the moment, but if I thought about having it afterwards, there was this kind of disconnect. There wasn't this feeling like I wanted to move toward it. It was like I had cut off. And I have had that experience. I've never done tapping for cravings before, but I've had that experience doing tapping for working through emotional issues where you've had an emotional thing that's bothering you and then you do the tapping and then you're cut off from it. You're not feeling a reaction. And I was feeling, that's what I was feeling if I tried to tune into what would it be like if I wanted to reach for some chocolate, and even if it's a good thing for me anyway, but it's like there was this disconnect. I felt a
Yeah.
disconnect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. And you might have noticed that I never said something like, I don't want chocolate, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
need
yeah.
chocolate.
No.
Because I'm like you, like, chocolate can be great. Any
Yeah,
food, it's like
yeah.
food's not the enemy
Food is
here.
not the enemy.
What we're moving towards is being able to say, what do I really want? Do I really want it? Because when you have a craving, you're not in control. It's not you deciding consciously, yeah, I'm going to enjoy this. When I would binge eat and eat junk food, I never enjoyed it. It was like
That's true.
it would just happen, and then I would look down at my plate and go, where'd it go?
Yeah.
I don't even remember eating it because I was so disconnected with my
And
body.
then even though you feel stuffed, you don't feel satisfied. And then if you had some more room, you'd put some more in to try to get that satisfaction. But you're never
Yes.
really getting that satisfaction. That's true.
Yeah, and
Well,
a quick story about cravings.
yeah.
I was doing this on stage, and a great question to ask yourself is, where do you feel the craving? Most people assume that you always feel the craving in your stomach or in your mouth, but a lot of times when you really ask yourself, you feel it somewhere else. And
Yeah.
I had a woman who felt it in her heart. And after doing some tapping on the craving, her craving went down to about like a 3 or 4, but it was still there. And I asked her to put her hands on her heart and kind of connect to what was the craving, like what was she really craving? And she shared that her grandmother had passed away a year ago, and she hadn't made the connection until she did the tapping,
Yeah.
but that's when she began to gain weight, and she realized that the way that she connected with her grandmother and missing that presence in her life was through eating sweets because her
Yeah.
mother would give her sweets.
Yeah.
And so what she was craving was not the chocolate,
The
but that
connection.
that connection,
Yeah.
and that needs to be honored,
That needs, well,
right?
to me, connection is everything. Like in my meditations, that's what I feel, and that's what satisfies me is that connection. And if you think about it, when you don't have the connection that you want, food is a kind of a logical next step because food is when you eat something, you're connecting with it in a really intimate way. I mean, you're taking something that's outside of you, you're putting it inside your body, and it's becoming the cells of your body.
Yes.
That is a connection. So if you're not having the connection that you really want in the world, you will tend to go for food. So to use tapping to help create that connection is a really powerful use of this healing therapy. And I know also you work a lot with beliefs, and you
Yes.
wrote a book recently about that. I'm wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's a free book. It's an ebook that we'll put
Yeah,
a link to. It's 103 disempowering beliefs about weight loss and body confidence. And the reason I wanted to do this free ebook around beliefs particularly is that this was really a big part of my transformation because I had certain beliefs like I was just born unlucky
yeah,
with my body. I had beliefs that in order to lose weight, I had to restrict myself and punish myself.
yeah,
And one of the things that I realized as well, and a big aha moment for me was, you ever notice when someone loves something, like the people who love their cars are always cleaning them?
yeah,
Like they're always just like really into maintaining something that they love, because they find pleasure in it because it's something that they love, and so there's a pleasurable aspect of taking care of that car. And I realized I had so many limiting beliefs about myself and my body that taking care of my body felt like a chore because I felt like my body was stopping me from happiness.
yeah. And
I
you didn't have a positive experience with your body.
no,
It was full of negative associations that it was sabotaging you, and it was an effort, and it's out to get you, and all these negative.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, every time I wanted to make a change because I had these beliefs about my body, I had to suffer through it.
Yeah,
And beliefs are tricky because beliefs so often disguise themselves as the truth. Most people don't know they have limiting beliefs. They just think it's their reality.
sure.
If someone tells you, I feel like my body is betraying me, I feel like I'm unlucky, to them that's not a belief, that's true, that's their reality.
Yeah,
And with tapping, what we're doing is when you focus on the belief and you tap, you get to a calming place where you can really reflect on that belief and ask yourself, is that true? And when it doesn't feel true in our body, when it doesn't create that tension anymore, that's when it opens us up to see things in a different way.
sure, sure. For me, I've done a lot of belief work, and I have not seen this book yet, but I'm going to check it out right away. And I'm curious, do you also provide some kind of solutions through tapping through working through this belief? So if we read this book and we identify, yeah, I have that belief, are you giving us some help to help work through that?
Yes,
Awesome.
absolutely. There's
Yeah.
great tapping scripts. So,
Awesome.
if someone just did the tapping for craving and was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I really want to go back to that in the
Yeah.
future, at the end of the book, there's actually a bonus, which is for cravings.
Yeah. Great.
And then throughout the book, it's the script.
Yeah.
So, especially if you're learning, you're new to tapping, you're not sure what to say, this is a free resource that can guide you through it.
Cool. So on this page, for everyone that's listening, if you're interested in the book, you can click on the link and you can download Jessica's book. And I'm going to do it right away because I really want to check this out and start seeing if I have any of these beliefs still after all the work that I've done, which is a lot of work actually. But um, is that also is that the best way for us to connect with you, or is there other ways, your website or other things you can direct us to that?
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. The tappingsolution.com is my website, and we
Yeah.
also have great free tapping meditations that you can listen to. And you can follow me on Instagram or on Facebook. Just look up Jessica Ortner, and I love to
Awesome.
connect with people.
Awesome. Jessica, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your wisdom with us and making this book available. And really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for all you do, John.
Thanks. And everyone listening, just download the book and check it out. Go to Jessica's site, Tapping Solution, and find her on Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. We'll be happy to help. And speak to you soon. Take care.